That's it. Let's hear you nice and loud. Hello and welcome, everybody. Let me hear you say hello. Oh, you can do better than that. Hello. Now, it's not just us here as part of this awards, the Royal Society Young People's Book Prize 2024. We are being joined by an online audience, so I need you all to do me a huge favour. At the top of your voice, I would like you to say welcome to Glasgow to everybody who is watching online. So after 3, 2, 1, welcome to Glasgow! Thank you. That was brilliant. Have you all had a good morning? Yeah. Have you got hands on with different science experiments and activities? Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I hope if you're watching at home, perhaps you've been having your own science party, doing some experiments of your own. But of course, we are all here for the Royal Society Young People's Book Prize 2024. And I am very fortunate to be your host for today. My name is Maddie Moat, and I am lucky enough to have spent the last few years talking to scientists, meeting experts, and visiting lots of different places to find out answers to questions that I have about the world. Now, I do this to make programmes for television. So I've made a show called Maddie's Do You Know on CBeebies. Every now and then I might pop up on Blue Peter on CBBC, or even make videos for YouTube. But today isn't about the things that you watch on screen. It is about the things that you read in books. And I think that's what is so exciting, and what I want to talk about is so important when it comes to this particular book prize for me, is that when we're at school, science is often put into 3 boxes, and that is chemistry, physics, and biology. But actually, science is so much more than that. And just here today, if I look at our authors and illustrators represented, we have biologists, conservationists, teachers, we have astronomers, geneticists, and explorers. And I think books like the ones that we see on this shortlist, they help to expand our knowledge of what science is. And they tell us a little bit about the possibilities and the futures that we could all have in the world of science. So that is why these books are so, so important. Now, a little bit about the book prize itself. So since 1988, the Royal Society has awarded a children's book prize to encourage the writing, publishing, and of course, the reading of brilliant and interesting books for young people just like you. Now, the judging panel, it begins with hundreds of books, and then a shortlist judging panel, they have to bring that down to about 6 books. So we started with hundreds, it then gets whittled to about 40 books, and then our panel of 6 people, they have to get it down again. Now, this year's adult judging panel was chaired by Professor Dorothy Bishop, a professor of developmental neuropsychology, and she was joined by chemist Dr. Emrys Evans, science communicator and children's author Dr. Emily Grossman, CBeebies presenter and conservationist Chantal Lindsay, and primary school head teacher David Rickmond. And I think that you'll agree that the panel managed to select some amazing books for all of you. Now, we're lucky enough to have some of the panel with us here today. So everyone, please say hello to Emily, Chantal, and David. Give us a wave. You had a very, very tough job on your hands. I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more about the process of whittling the books down a little bit later. So the 6 shortlisted books, as well as judging packs, information and activities, they were sent to 770 schools, libraries and youth groups across the UK. And I can imagine you had a very, very tough time trying to pick a winner out of all of the brilliant options that were put in front of you. So today we are going to draw the year's prize to a close by crowning the winner of the Young People's Book Prize 2024. course. I'm very excited to see who you have voted as your winner. Now, we're going to be hearing a little bit from the panel, but first, I think we should get stuck in and actually meet the amazing shortlist and some of the authors and illustrators. So we're going to do a bit of a Q&A session. So before the grand reveal, I would love to welcome to the chairs up here on the stage with me, author Beth Cox from All Bodies Are Wonderful. Round of applause. Author Dr. Sheila Kanani and illustrator Liz Kay from Can You Get Rainbows in Space? We have author Dr. Shini Samara and illustrator Adam Olsuch-Boardman from Engineers Making a Difference. And then author Katerina Weiss-Twider and illustrator Christian Schneider from Mission Arctic. And then finally, we have author Tom Jackson for The Expanding World of Data. Our authors and illustrators, everybody. Now, some of you have already provided me some questions to ask of our panel. So I'm actually going to start off with a question for our author-illustrator team, Dr. Sheila and Liz Kay. Brilliant. So the question has come from Xander. Now, Sheila, Xander has asked, I really loved the way you looked at the different colours in the sections of the book. Which colour was the hardest to find information about?
That is such a good question. So in the book, we looked at the colours in the rainbow, in the visible spectrum, but we also looked at the colours outside of that, so the ones that human beings can't see. So it was those that were the trickiest but the most interesting to write about. So the animals that can see in the infrared and the animals that give off X-rays, the ones that glow in the dark, and those kinds of things that were the trickiest but definitely the most beautiful and stunning as well.
Okay, and Liz, what about you? Which colour did you enjoy the process of illustrating the most?
I'm just going to completely copy Sheila's answer here and say that in particular the page about animals that glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Because the brief was to obviously make these animals look like they glow in the dark, and on a flat page that's quite a challenge. But actually, I was quite pleased by how it turned out.
How did you go about that? How did you make something look like it was glowing?
A lot of trial and error, bright colours. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Basically.
And is this the first time you two have worked together, or have you worked together before?
It was the first book we did together, but we've since done 2 more.
Yeah, with one more coming.
With 1 more on the way.
And Sheila, what do you appreciate most about working with Liz?
It's really nice working with someone repeatedly because we're getting to know each other's styles.
Yeah.
And we're both really passionate about diversity and inclusion and making sure that's represented in the information, but also in the illustrations. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of bounce back off each other really nicely.
Brilliant. I've now got a question for Shini and Adam. So, Dr. Shini Samara, the book Engineers Making a Difference, it's a celebration of engineering from lots of different people's perspectives. Kyle has asked, what advice would you give if I wanted to go into engineering? So if any of the young people here today wanted to become engineers, what advice would you give them?
I think engineering and engineer can make you think of lots of different things, from bridges to your Wi-Fi to your car. But there's one thing that unites everything when it comes to engineering, and that's a real desire to solve problems. So if you're someone that identifies problems and really wants to fix them, whether that's problems with, I don't know, things that you encounter in your daily life, or big problems, world problems, you know, maybe to do with climate change. If you really want to help solve those problems, then maybe you could be an engineer. And I think also there's an assumption that you've got to be really good at maths and really good at physics, but that's not true. You can be an engineer and not be so great at those subjects. They definitely help, but it's really about design and creativity and coming up with solutions, maybe from a technical angle or a design angle, arty angle. Engineering encompasses so much.
It's so true. I think quite often, coming back to this idea of putting science in boxes, we feel like we either have to be sciencey or artsy, but I actually feel like engineering is the perfect example. Exactly.
It's both, yeah.
Well, talking about being arty, but also having to get across scientific ideas, Adam, perhaps this is a good chance to chat to you about what it's like illustrating engineering, something which has to be very, very precise. Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I very much enjoyed drawing engineering type things because there's lots of straight lines, which are very pleasing to draw and render on paper. It was nice to have all the feedback from various engineers who were involved in the book, getting their little thumbnail sketches, and it was sort of my job to try and convey some quite complicated technical information into very small, tiny little spot illustrations, as almost like a comic panel, or diagrams that you might find in an IKEA instructions, which is the stuff I kind of enjoy looking at anyway.
But I feel you did a very good job of taking something that maybe looked like a little doodle, a little diagram on a scrappy piece of paper and making it look beautiful. You mentioned comics just then. Do you feel like you were inspired by comics as a way of getting into science illustration?
Yeah, I grew up reading comics like Tintin by Hergé, and they're full of pictures of aeroplanes and boats with a high degree of technical detail. I think it's just something he enjoyed drawing, as well as young reporters and dogs.
Thank you very much. Next question is going to be for Beth. Have you got a microphone? Can we pass one along? Fantastic. So Beth Cox is the author of All Bodies Are Wonderful. Now, Beth, I wonder, how did you approach writing this book?
Well, I became an author by accident because I was asked to write the books that I've worked on rather than going to a publisher with the idea. And the publisher said, we want you to write a book celebrating all bodies. And my thoughts were, there's quite a few books that do that, so how do I make this one different?
Yeah.
And because of the way my brain works, I like to understand the why and the how of things. So despite not being a scientist, I find science very interesting. So I decided to start with the science of how bodies develop and how we are all different, and how it's amazing we're not more different when you think that every single person develops from a collection of cells and all the instructions are in those cells to explain how to make a human. So I very much wanted to start with that, and because I'm not a scientist, I was able to work with a scientist, Deborah McKay, who helped me ensure that I got all the information right. But then I also wanted to talk about how society impacts us and our bodies and who we are in the world. And basically to provide the kind of book that I would have liked to have been able to read when I was younger, that explains that we're all, wonderfully unique, and it's okay just to be ourselves.
Are there any books that did inspire you to become an author?
I love reading fiction, so I think I'm more of a fiction person when it comes to reading, but I always struggled to write fiction. We used to be told to write, 4 pages of a story in school, and I'd write a sentence because I didn't know what to write. But you can still be an author if you don't get on with writing at school necessarily. That's the good news for any of you, because actually I find writing non-fiction much easier.
I think as well, though, there's this idea that non-fiction doesn't have to involve story. But I think something that our authors and illustrators have done beautifully is that you have put an element of story and characters and journey and place into all of your books. And I think that, just because it's non-fiction doesn't mean it has to be void of a sense of adventure. Which actually brings me on to our next author and illustrator team, Katerina. Hi. So Katerina is the author of Mission Arctic. Katerina actually spent about 8 weeks in the Arctic on an expedition as research for this book. I have a question here for you. This is from Kaja. And Kaja has asked, the book talks about all the different problems that the Arctic faces, but what is the most important thing that we can do to help? What would you say to that?
Yeah, this is maybe the most important question, right?
Yes.
So what I really understood when I went to the Arctic myself is that everything on this planet is connected. Every place, even a place which is so far away as the Arctic, is connected to ourselves here in the middle of Europe. So whatever we do here has an impact on the Arctic, and what happens in the Arctic out there has an impact on our life, on our well-being, on our health right here. So this makes it quite easy to do things which save the Arctic and our planet, because of this impact. So whatever you do, all the tiny decisions in your everyday life make a difference. If you go, for example, by bicycle instead of taking the car, if you choose the plant-based option, for example, or if you, for example, switch off the TV instead of letting it go to standby mode, all these things save energy, for example. And another very important thing is, I think, stay curious, stay interested in science, because we need the knowledge. And whenever you meet an adult who doesn't know about these things, about these connections and nature in our life, let him know or let her know, because it is about your future.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Sometimes something, like the Arctic feels so far away. It's hard to imagine how we can make a difference. But when you start to think about the world as being one connected place, suddenly it feels a lot more achievable. And we really can make a difference as individuals. Okay, Christian, you're the illustrator of this book. Now, we spoke earlier, and Christian is very excited to be here. Christian, I would love you to tell everybody here and online what was so exciting about being part of this book for you?
It always has been a live dream for me to take part to an expedition and illustrate unknown worlds, landscapes, wilderness. And so it was a real honor and pleasure for me to illustrate such a book. I think this book has everything. It has a historic background, the Nansen expedition 100 years ago or 120, long time ago. And the whole expedition setting, the ship and the crew and the adventure, what happened there. I remember the visit of the polar bears you told me, and I hope we give a few answers to what can we do to preserve the Arctic and the climate. And
I can definitely imagine how, as a young person, you would look to the future and think, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to illustrate adventures, expeditions, and to actually be doing that now is, I can see why that would be very, very exciting for you. My last question is for Tom Jackson. Right, Tom, I've got a question for you here, which is about, so you are a science writer. The book is about data specifically, but you've been writing science non-fiction books for a long time. What is it that you like most about writing science books in general?
Well, as well as just explaining how the science works, I really like to find the stories of how we discovered that science. So it's a question of looking at all the different discoveries that have taken place through time, linking them all together. And I think that gives me, anyway, and hopefully the reader, a fuller picture of what the science actually is. And along the way, you can find all sorts of fun connections with other stories that bring the whole thing to life.
So coming back to this idea of connectedness, actually.
That's right, yeah.
I have a question actually from Crawfordike Primary School, and they have asked, do you have any advice for aspiring authors yourself?
Well, there are two ways of answering that. The first one is just get writing.
I'm sure that's something that all of the authors would probably nod and agree with. Sometimes when it comes to writing a book, you just need to put something on a page.
And it is something that you can learn to get better at. So just the more you do it, the better you'll get. You need to share it with people, and you need to let them read it, and you need to let them tell you what they think is wrong with it. So a lot of my job is listening to people telling me what I've done wrong, and then thinking about ways I can make it better. So you need to be prepared for that. Mm-hmm. And another way of answering it is to stop thinking about it. What I often do is that I'll, if I've got a topic to research, I'll have a look into it, and then I will deliberately do something else. I won't think about it. I'll just put it out of my mind, and then I'll find a few days later, the ideas will come, and I'll already, somewhere in the back of my mind by itself, the story has organised itself.
You've just let it stew there, mull over in the background a little bit, and sometimes the creativity will just come to you.
Exactly.
Brilliant. That's great advice. Could you all please put your hands together for our authors and illustrators as they make their way back to their seats? Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of this year's shortlisted authors and illustrators. I think you'll all agree that the books this year, they are brilliant. And I can imagine for all of you, it was a lot of fun reading them all and deciding the winner. But on top of voting for the winning book, the judging panels in schools and youth groups, they were tasked with filming a video about the shortlisted books and the judging process. So there is also there are some book tokens up for grabs. So we are about to announce the winner of the video competition part of the Royal Society Young People's Book Prize 2024. Now we can't see all of the videos that were submitted, but we do have a little video, a little collage of just some highlights. So please take a look at some of the entries.
What is your favourite part about these books? It's about science! It's about science. This beautifully illustrated book is all about the Arctic. The Mission Arctic was very easy to read and the pictures were visually spread out on every page. Every page is like a new adventure and I really like the way how it tells us about the history of Arctic expeditions as well as teaching us about climate change. Can you get rainbows in space? It is a good read for all ages and I think it's very funny. And it has a screen cover, which is coming off a little bit here, which is good for any grubby hands, like my little sister.
The book, it has got like range of colours, so it's just like so captivating.
This book really helps me with my construction skills.
I really like it because of all the illustrations and everything, and the fact that just looking at the illustrations, I could see what kind of engineer they were.
It really inspires me. It had so many different ideas. I kind of want to be an engineer now.
Where are you really from? I think this is a really good book. It had a lot of information. It was really funny, and it was just like an easy to read book. So in this book, it talks about how you're made and what you can do.
It's a book that for younger audiences would be all about your body. But as the audience gets older, they will see that All Bodies Are Wonderful covers important topics, such as discrimination.
This book is called The Expanding World of Data, and I love the drawings in the book. They were really creative and imaginative, and it showed science in a new and exciting way a lot, and I just love this book overall. Thank you!
Let's give those a round of applause. Thank you to absolutely everyone, every school or youth group who submitted a video. I was able to see the look on the author and illustrator's face as they were able to see, some of the entries, actually looking at the books, and you're all beaming. You're absolutely beaming. It must be so nice to actually see your books in the hands of young people. So that was really special. But now we are actually going to announce the winner of the video competition. And to do this, I would like to welcome on stage one of our shortlisting judges, but also the judge of the video competition. It's science communicator and children's author, Dr. Emily Grossman.
Thank you, Maddie. As you can see from the compilation, I was tasked with the unenviable decision of having to choose between more than 30 just phenomenal pieces of communication around the judging process and what you thought of the books and descriptions of the books. And I hate it when judges say, it was a really hard decision and everyone deserves to win. But it's the first time I've been in this position. And it's true, like honestly, I was going round and round for hours, days and days going, but this one's so good at this and this one's so good at that, and oh, but there's that wonderful moment. And honestly, if I could have given prizes to everybody, I actually contacted the Royal Society and said, can we give like loads more prizes than just like the 3 and the 2 and the 1? And they were like, no, you have to choose. And the thing is, it becomes really subjective, because the thing that I love about science communication is that there's ways of communicating science that engage with people in different ways. So like you saw in the videos, well, you didn't, but I saw watching all the videos, every single one of the 6 shortlisted books was someone's favourite. And that's something that really came across. Every single one was a different panel's favourite. So science communication and writing and presenting is so subjective, and it's all about what resonates with each of us on an individual level. And so that's why it was so hard for me to have to choose. So I really do want to say every single video that came in, there were so many wonderful aspects to it. There were so many brilliant moments of people communicating from their hearts and explaining really clearly what they loved about the books and what they thought could have been better, or giving brilliant summaries of the books. And I would really love to implore those of you who were involved in these videos to even consider going into not just science careers, but perhaps careers in science communication or science presenting, because that's such an important need, is to have people like you who can talk playfully, with humour, with heart, with passion about science and about how you feel about things and how you feel about the world. And I just also want to give a nod to some of the genius creativity that went into these videos that won't necessarily be reflected in the prizes. So, for example, we had everything from Strictly Come Reading to Books Got Talent, complete with a Simon Cowell representative on the panel. We had a spoof BBC News report. We had chemists making colourful concoctions from liquids in conical flasks. We had biologists extracting starch from potatoes to make ecoplastics. We had mathematicians arguing about the number 0. We had engineers making constructs in their classrooms and in their playgrounds. We had loads of gymnastic routines. We had cartwheels everywhere, human pyramids. It was just so inspiring and exciting to like watch all of these creative ways of putting across science books and science ideas. And a special mention, we saw some of those in the little compilation, to the stop animation of the fluffy polar bears and the panda drawing a graph, the Arctic explorers in the snorkel masks and dressing up in wonderful outfits to represent scientific endeavour. We had inflatable dinosaurs, and we even had a badger in a school tie. So not necessarily were those going to be reflected in my choices, because when it came down to it, what I went with are videos that I thought did a really great a really great job of getting across to us as viewers what it was like to be a young person on that judging panel, what you went through, what the process was like, how you felt about the books, why you chose the books you chose, and also giving really beautiful and meaningful, and I found very moving, summaries of the book content, but also the importance, the value of those books and what they meant to you. And I actually was in tears watching a few of these videos. And so I'm going to now announce what for me were the third, second and first places. But I do want to just really stress that this is just my opinion, and that there will probably be other very prolific writers, authors, presenters who have very different opinions on everything. So I can only go with what connected with me and what I felt in my heart was moved me and helped me to engage with you and your experience and the experience of the books, and helped me want to feel inspired by the books themselves. So in third place, I went for the University of Birmingham School. In second place, I went for Carr Junior School. And in first place, with a video that was very close to the other two, but I felt really gave us a sense of the joy and the fun that you had during the process of choosing the books, why you chose what you chose, what they meant to you, and just a lot of play and imagination in the putting together of the storytelling and the communication skills of the young people who made this video. I went for Broxburn Primary School. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody, for everything you put into making these videos. Honestly, it was such a joy and a privilege to choose them.
Brilliant. Congratulations to Broxburn Primary School. Thank you so much to Dr. Emily. That sounded like it was a really, really tough decision for you. But now I would actually like to invite our other members of this year's shortlisting panel to the stage, because we are about to announce the winner of the Young People's Book Prize 2024. So please give another round of applause to CBeebies presenter and conservationist Chantal Lindsay and local primary school head teacher David Rigmond. Please welcome them to the stage. Right, let's move ourselves over to the centre. You. Have we all got a microphone? Fantastic. Okay. First of all, I have a couple of different questions for you to find out what the process was like being members of the shortlisting panel. Chantal, starting with yourself. How did you go about whittling down around 45? This one might work better. There we go. Chantal, question for you. How did you go about whittling down 46 books to just 6? That must have been quite the challenge.
Hi everyone. Yes, it was a massive, massive challenge. I never thought I'd get 46 books delivered through my door.
Did you?
Yeah, literally. And I felt just so honoured and privileged, even being invited to be a judge in the first place. I was just so excited because as a kid, I absolutely loved books, such a bookworm. So yeah, getting 46 through was like, whoa, this is a lot to get through. So we had some time to do. I think we had about, how many months did we have?
Not long enough to read that many books.
Not long enough.
Speed reading.
Couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So a lot of skills came into it of like, skim reading through, but also wanting to give all of the books, all the authors and illustrators that due diligence and due time. And for me, it kind of came down to, we had a criteria to pick from, but really it kind of came down to the ones like you said, Emily, when you were judging the video competition, of ones that sort of sparked my heart, blew my mind, had those moments that inspired me. And I think all of us, when we sat down, we all had different kind of ideas of what we kind of thought were the best bits about the books and things like that. And so we sort of pitched to each other. And we were quite diplomatic, though, I think. We'd never met before, all kind of put into this room and then picked through these books. And we ended up with a beautiful shortlist of 6, which, of course, then our lovely schools and youth clubs, etc., helped us to whittle down today.
So you were really, for you, it was which of the books were inspiring you in some way? What was touching your heart?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said about the connectedness, all of these kind of books had this gorgeous like thread of diversity, of seeing and being seen. So yeah, for me, that was really important.
Fantastic. David, you are a head teacher. In fact, your school's here today. Let's hear it if you're one of David's students. There they are. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
David, you're coming at this as a teacher. How did you feel about, choosing the shortlist as a teacher, thinking about it from an academic point of view, an educational point of view?
Well, it was incredibly tough.
Yeah.
But I come from a very privileged position where I was able to ask the children their thoughts ahead of going down to London to look at the books and, as you say, come together in that room. I think from an educational point of view, and I'm sure many of the teachers in the room would agree, teaching primary science at a young age is so important. Evidence would suggest that has such a positive impact in later life on prospects. So to come together and look at books like that and actually through a reading culture as well, and teaching science through a reading culture is so important in primary schools. I'm sure everyone would agree in the room. And Wallace Primary, did you enjoy reading the books? Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That was a resounding yes, definitely coming from the audience. And Emily, this is a very special book prize. How did you feel being asked to be a judge?
Yeah, I think, Maddie, you're right. I think for me what's so special about this book prize is that as the shortlisting, as the judging panel, we don't get to choose the winning book. We get to choose 6 books. And what's so important about that is all 6 of those books then gets sent out to 770 schools, libraries, and youth centres, as you told us earlier.
It's an amazing opportunity.
And those books are then read by 19,000 young people. So for me, this prize is not really about who wins, although obviously it's wonderful for the authors and illustrators if they do win. But for me, it's about us having the responsibility of choosing 6 books that are going to go into the minds of that many young people and that will be discussed and that will be explored and that will provide inspiration and information that is part of the next generation growing up and being inspired by science and being inspired by the challenges that we face in the world and how to tackle them. And that's what I felt is so special about this award, because we get to influence and shape the narratives that go out there. And that's why I felt like it was so important that we spent all of that time, like, I joke, it's a couple of months, but, really within that time, there was plenty of time to read these books thoroughly, to really get a feel for what we felt was inspiring, but also what we felt were important messages to put out into the world, such that we could come together as a team and decide between us. And it was pretty clear, the ones that we felt should go out into the world. And I felt really delighted that the 6 books we ended up choosing really represented such a diverse array of speaking to the challenges that we face in the world today, be that climate change or combating discrimination in the form of racism and other forms of discrimination, or celebrating diversity and inclusion, whether that's body shape or brain type or gender identity or disabilities, and just allowing young people also the skills and inspiration to choose science careers that they could go into that will help to then tackle those problems in the future, from engineering to data science to just believing in the magic and the wonder of science for the sake of curiosity's sake.
That's it. So there's always room for a bit of magic and wonder, even if you are looking at science books. Well, you did a brilliant job of getting it down to the 6. But of course, as you mentioned, you didn't actually pick the winner. That job was handed over to you. And we are about to announce the winner of the Royal Society Young People's Book Prize 2024. But before we do that, I think we need to practice a drum roll. So I'd like to see you all. That's it. Hands on your laps. Let's practice the drum roll. Here we go, it's just a practice. Stop. Very good. All right then. Now to do the honours, Chantal, Lindsay, you have the golden envelope.
I have the golden envelope.
Authors and illustrators, just again say congratulations all round. Okay, Chantal.
Absolutely. Okay, this is the Oscar moment right here.
Here we go.
So the winner of the Royal Society Young People's Book Prize 2024 is... Can You Get Rainbows in Space by Dr. Sheila Kanani and illustrated by Liz Kay. Congratulations!
Sheila and Liz, would you like to come and join us up here? The winners of Can You Get Rainbows in Space are here with us today and presenting the awards to both of you. Right, Dr. Sheila, would you like to come over to me over here? Liz, if you want to join me as well. Congratulations! Sheila. I mean, this perhaps is an obvious question, but how does it feel to win?
I'm absolutely I can't even talk, and that's a big thing for me. I would like to say some thanks, if that's okay. Obviously to Liz, because without the illustrations, the book would just be words on a page. I wrote the book during lockdown, during the pandemic, so I was, only in the bubble with my closest family, my family of boys. So thanks for putting up with me. But also to the family in London who were geographically distant because of the pandemic, who were working on the front line. So thanks to all the people that did that during the pandemic. Around this time is quite special for me. I've got some historical moments from 20 years ago today. But my life is so different now. So I just wanted to remind you all that as a journey, you will have knocks and you'll have triumphs and you'll have challenges, but you just don't know where you're going to end up. And I actually think books and writing and stories and that connectedness that we all mentioned is something that can really change people's lives. I really want to dedicate the book and the award to children of the globe. I think we've seen the hardship that children have had recently in this country, but also in places like Palestine and Syria and Ukraine. And I just wanted to be a voice for them. And I think science books are so important for when children are, when we don't get to hear their voices. So hopefully we can speak for them. So I wanted to dedicate this to children all over the world. And keep writing and keep reading, because you guys are amazing as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Liz, how do you feel about being presented with the award?
Well, I've got both my parents were science teachers, so I don't know how I ended up being an illustrator, but somehow this has come full circle. So, and thank you mainly to Sheila for making such a beautiful book that was actually a pleasure to illustrate. And you've explained a lot of things to me that I'd never thought I'd understand. So, thank you.
Okay, good job, well done, definitely then. Thank you so much to our winning team and to our shortlisting judging panel. Thank you so much, everyone. If you'd like to take your seats, congratulations. That's it. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
So that is it. We just have to say a final thank you as well to all of the generous donors who make the prize possible every single year. So thank you once more to all of the shortlisted authors and illustrators, as well as their publishers. Thank you to everyone who has joined us here in Glasgow today, and also if you've joined us online. And of course, thank you to the judging panels and all of the students who have read the books and have been part of choosing this year's winner. So that is it for the 2024 Book Prize. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good afternoon.